Damini, a cloud support engineer here at AWS office in Sydney, Australia. So today I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot any issues with an Amazon Elastic Block Storage volume mounted in Amazon Kubernetes service. So let's get started. Let's review the error message, timeout expired, waiting for volume to attach or mount for pod. You get this error when you mount Amazon EBS volume in an EKS cluster. Before we begin for troubleshooting this error, first confirm that you have a required AWS Identity and Access Management permissions for your EBS CSI Controller's SA Service account IAM role. Let's verify that Amazon EBS CSI driver controller and node pods are running. For that, open a terminal window on a local machine. Install AWS CLI if it is not already installed. Make sure that the kubectl is installed on your local machine, and if not, you can install by following the instruction in the Knowledge Center article. Configure kubectl to access your Amazon EKS cluster by running this command. In this command, before running it, you need to replace it with the AWS region where the EKS cluster is located and the cluster name with the name of the EKS cluster. Run the command to check the status of the Amazon EBS CSI driver pods. This command output lists all the resources labeled with app.kubernetes.io/name is equal to AWS-EBS-CSI-driver in the kube system. Namespace include the controller and the node pod for the Amazon EBS CSI drive. Check if the PBC encountered issue when binding to the EBS persistent volume. For that, run this command using the AWS CLI. Please don't forget to replace the PBC name and the namespace with the correct values for your environment. If you use dynamic volume provisioning, then review the return value to determine if the volume provisioning succeeded or failed. You can also see the corresponding persistent volume name that the PBC is bound to. If the provisioning failed, then find the error message in events. Review the Amazon EBS CSI controller pods log. To see the cause of the mount failure, check the controller pod logs. If the volume failed during creation, then review to the EBS plugin and CSI provisioner log. To review the EBS plugin controller log, run these commands. To retrieve the CSI provisioner container log, run this command. If the EBS volume failed to attach to the pod, then review the CSI attacher log. To retrieve the CSI attacher container log, run this command. Check the Amazon EBS CSI driver controller service account IAM role and the role permission. Each persistent volume has a node affinity that limits the attachment of the persistent volume to the node within a single availability zone. This limit means that you can attach EBS volume only to the pod or the nodes that runs in the same availability zone where you can create them in. If the scheduled pod for nodes in one availability zone uses the EBS persistent volume in a different availability zone, then you will receive this error. To avoid this issue, use stateful sets instead of deployment. This creates a unique EBS volume for each pod of the stateful sets in same availability zone as a pod. To verify the persistent volume node affinity, run the command, replace the persistent volume name with your volume name. Make sure that the EBS controller pod has a connectivity to an Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud API. If you see errors for connection timeout in the EBS CSI controller log, then the EBS CSI controller might not be connected to an Amazon EC2 API. If the controller pod has a connectivity issue when you create your PBC, then you will see this error. To resolve this error, check that the EBS controller pod subnet has a connectivity to the EC2 API. If you run a private cluster with an HTTP/HTTPS proxy, then verify that EBS CSI controller pod can use the HTTP and HTTPS proxy. EBS CSI driver Helm installation supports setup of an HTTP and HTTPS proxy. So now you know how to troubleshoot an issues with an Amazon Elastic Block Storage volume mounts in Amazon Elastic Kubernetes service. Thank you for watching and happy cloud computing from all of us here at AWS.